Welcome to Study with the Best, the magazine show that's all about CUNY. I'm Tina Beth Pina. Today's episode features music. We'll meet a Turkish-born conductor from Queens College, talk to a Grammy winner from Brooklyn College, take a look at historical images about music, and so much more. But first, Nisan Ak is an up-and-coming conductor originally from Turkey. We met up with her at Queens College.
Conducting, it's a multidisciplinary thing. You don't only do music when you're conducting. It's both acting, dance, psychology, management, problem solving. It's sort of a company that you have to run, where you have to be able to hear the problems in a second and fix the problems in a second so that you can create a successful concert. When I was like 8, 9, I started guitar, and at 14, I got accepted to music school. I started attending conducting department as a guest student. At 2013, I came here for a summer workshop with Maestro Perez. He asked me if I want to study masters here, and I said yes. So I came here a year later when I finished my undergrad. You start with an instrument when you're learning music. For example, if you're playing horn, you might know something about the brass instruments, like trumpet and trombone and tuba and such. But you won't know that much about violins. You don't even sometimes hear them, like what do they do and such. But when you're a conductor, you start learning about the score, about the other instruments that you don't play a lot. Whatever in music, in scores, in notes, you have to show it. You have to make it visible. The musicians in the orchestra will make it audible. The audience will hear it. But I have to make it visible for the orchestra. Like forte means loud, but like loud is very relative. Is it how loud? With what kind of expression? Is it like strict, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it like more tied together, like 1, 2, 3, 4? You decide all of this, and then your behaviors, your movements, your facial expressions will show what kind of loud is that, so that they will all have one idea, and then they will give that idea to their instruments. Well, on top of all those musical skills and clarity and a very good ear, they have to have amazing problem-solving skills. Not only in music, but also in other aspects, like communication. When I was starting conducting, I never thought that this is a very psychological job, that you have to convince people, you have to be able to make them try to do more. You're not the board, but you're not the player as well. You're in between them. You have to control both of them. One of the best decisions I made was to come to Queens College. It's a great opportunity to study here. There are so many good musicians. You want to do an extracurricular concert, they're gonna help you. Do you want to do like some reading sessions with your colleagues? Your colleagues will say yes. They're just good. They're nice people. We do one full concert with all the rehearsals. So we learn our technique to rehearse. We learn our technique to conduct. And then we get to choose our own repertoire to conduct. So this is a real experience. And one, two before. It's a male-dominated job. There are very few women conductors all around the world. I'm one of the few women conductors in Turkish history. Eventually, I want to become a music director, of course. A professional orchestra, preferably in a city. I want to conduct like one modern music each concert, as well as the classical repertoire. Wow, that sounds amazing. Can we just have that?
Grammy Award winner Arturo O'Farrill has a long and stellar music career. Not only is he the director of jazz studies at Brooklyn College, he has quite an impressive musical pedigree.
My father was a composer and arranger named Chico O'Farrill, who came from Cuba and integrated Afro-Cuban music with jazz in a very seamless way. The piece that he's most famous for is the Afro-Cuban Jazz Suite, which he wrote in 1948. It's a genuine masterpiece and required listening in conservatories throughout the world. I'm teaching a course right now in jazz orchestration and arranging. And we very specifically look at that piece. And strangely enough, we look at a piece that I wrote that is in honor of that piece. And we talk about the stylistic and structural differences and similarities between the piece. I write nothing like my father, nothing like him. I compose entirely differently in a different language with a different set of values. But I love the spirit of exploration that he typified in his compositions. They really reflect the aesthetic of Chico O'Farrill. I don't see music as jazz, Latin jazz, classical. I'm simply a pianist and a composer, and hopelessly in love with an infinite reality that I can never, ever, ever, ever hope to understand. I rejected Latin jazz until many, many years into my career. For some reason, maybe because of the way that Latinos are stigmatized in some of our society, I rejected it because I felt very different. As a person who was one of those marginalized individuals, I felt somehow less than. But then something happened. I was told, go back. Look at your musical and cultural roots. And when I did, I found out they were brilliant and rich and aesthetically huge. Playing Latin music, in fact, is not only not simple, but to do it with authenticity and creativity is really difficult. In order to play Latin jazz, you not only have to be good at Western European harmony and improvisational jazz practice, but you also have to be conversant in Afro-folkloric rhythms. We're trilingual. We're trilingual, and I think that that is something that I didn't understand when I was young. So I started going to Cuba on a regular basis to try and learn not only about the Afro-folkloric roots of my craft, but also about the spirit of love that they have for this music, for their culture. I remember saying the second day that I was there, I want to do a project. I want to call it The Conversation Continued. And the conversation is this: egalitarian, equal, not exotic, not venerated. I insisted that it be American composers and Cuban composers, American musicians and Cuban musicians. I wanted it to be a real collaborative effort. The Afro-Latin Jazz Suite is written to celebrate the spirit that my father's Afro-Cuban Jazz Suite was written in. When he was given the chance to write anything he wanted by Norman Granz to celebrate music and jazz in his day, he didn't write an easy mambo or just a jazz piece. He decided to fully integrate two art forms. So Mother Africa is based on a very simple djembe pattern, but also expands the language of jazz because I don't think chordally, I don't think harmonically like jazz musicians. The second movement is called All of the Americas because for me, the state of the art in Latin music is pan-Latin, pan-Latino, pan-American. We've discovered, and there always have been, incredible rhythms in Colombia, in Peru, in Venezuela. So the third, really short movement, the Adagio, is an attempt to really pay homage to my father. The fourth movement is called What Now? And it has to do with people who are reinventing themselves musically every day. This piece would have been impossible without the extraordinary musicianship of the people in my world, in the Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra and the Cuban musicians that help us. All the faces on the cover of The Conversation Continues are people that have been in my life, that I've performed with, that I've loved, that I've stopped loving, that I've cared for, that have stopped loving me. It's a very, very personal cover. Where does that come from? Boba-dee-da. That's right. That's all. It's just a fragment of the melody that Leonard Bernstein used. And how does Oscar Peterson use it? Well, he's syncopated and he plays it in a very, 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 very specific manner. I began my association with CUNY as an undergraduate at the City College. Probably completed 2 years there before I was again ripped out of my education to perform professionally. Finished my undergraduate studies and graduated from the Brooklyn College Conservatory of Music. Finished my master's degree at the Queens College at the Aaron Copland School of Music. Very, very proud of my CUNY association, very proud of CUNY, very proud of public higher education. It's very difficult to make a living as a jazz musician. Nearly impossible. There are institutions that are taking you through that process and handing you a $240,000 bill at the end of it. It's horrendous to me. But in any given education, I think that people should have access to the highest level education. Are you kidding me? I believe it's a basic human right. And CUNY does its best to be able to make that an affordable reality for many people. Arturo Farrell does not really matter. Well, I do and I don't, but I'm saying what really matters is the story that I feel has been entrusted to me. And the story about the lives and the people who intersected with my existence. I mean, it's okay to be the face of something and to be the name of something. But what really matters is the totality of all of this experience, of all the people, all my students at CUNY, all my students throughout my life, all the musicians that have worked with me, all the people who have turned me into someone who has to tell a story, has to be a storyteller. That's a lot of tension when you're sitting there without anything going on for a minute. And then the melody comes back in and all of a sudden you're like, wow.
The Research Center for Music Iconography at CUNY's Graduate Center is a treasure trove of historical materials about music. But what exactly is music iconography?
Music iconography is the study of images in order to understand music of the past. People were producing images since the earliest times. They were representing their lives, expressing their beliefs, a range of topics in which music appears in images is enormous. We can see which instruments were performing in this genre or that genre, instruments and their morphology, how performers were interacting with each other, relationship with the gender, how women were performing with men. We can see social role of music, where urban music was represented in a different way than rural music, and peasants were playing music during the work. This particular portrait is interesting. The original oil painting is at Metropolitan Museum. It represents 17th century castrato singer Pasquini. And it says, Apollo rewarding merit and punishing arrogance. Rewarding merit and punishing arrogance. So obviously Pasquini wanted to be represented in this way. But it's interesting that in 100 years later, when this print was produced, because this was a famous painting, in 1755, the caption under the portrait doesn't say anything about Pasquini. It gives a narrative that we need to be good and then we will be rewarded. Each study is detective work on what was in the mind of the artist. Did he have agenda to manipulate the image, or it just happened that he forgot a detail and he improvised it on the spot? Images have to be always compared with written sources. Images have to be compared with other images. It's never enough to look just one image and say this is how something happened. Charles Burney, English historian, he was in Rome and he was looking at obelisk, which is now on Piazza Montecitorio, and he thought that the instrument is there, a lute. He was so impressed that he invited artists to take exact, precise copy in the exact measurements of the image. At that time, Egyptian hieroglyphics were not understood yet. So now we know that this sign, a hieroglyphic, is actually Nefer, meaning beautiful, and it has nothing to do with music instrument. It's a representation of the hair and human heart. In many cultures, images can show us much more than written sources because we just don't have written sources. Like in classical Mayan culture, there are specific types of vases which show music in mythological context, in rituals, in work context. And basically this is the main source what we know about music in Mayan culture. Music iconography is very close to music archaeology. For example, in China, there was not even a word for music iconography because so many of their sources actually come from the ground that were excavated in archaeological digs. So we work very closely with music archaeologists, and we overlap with methodologists. In the center, we have about, I think, about 10,000 reproductions of artworks from around the world. In 1998, I started a journal for music iconography called Music in Art. This is one of 2 journals in the world published on this subject. And here is the journal. For me, it's very important that scholars who published in the journal are from all around the world. And we have scholars from Pakistan, from Latin America, from China, from Thailand. What is exciting for me in music iconography is that you always deal with artwork. So you analyze the work, but you also admire artistry of the artist.
CUNY's latest initiative enables the students to get hands-on experience at some of the city's most famed cultural institutions.
To be so honest, I'm super excited.
It's an honor to be part of this cultural course.
More than 700 students from 13 CUNY campuses attended the official launch of the CUNY Cultural Core, the new arts internship program that gives CUNY students crucial career experience at New York City's top cultural institutions.
What we're trying to do, and this is a very important part of it, is to provide opportunities for our students in addition to the education that they get at CUNY, which they might not be able to get anywhere else. They get internships, paid internships, so it's meaningful work at great places where they might not otherwise have that opportunity, and maybe it will launch a career. And on the other side, it introduces these great cultural institutions into the cultural center of the country, to the talent, the diversity, the enthusiasm, the drive, the ambition of CUNY students.
First school year, there's 32 institutions involved. They're part of the Cultural Institution Group. The second year, it's going to spread out to all the rest of the institutions in the city. And we really want to keep this going for a long time. We don't want this to be a one-shot deal.
The 32 institutions involved include MoMA PS1, Queens Botanical Garden, Carnegie Hall, the American Museum of Natural History, Brooklyn Academy of Music, Staten Island Museum, and so many more institutions across all 5 boroughs. The paid 24-week internships are made possible through a $1 million investment from the Rockefeller Foundation and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We are fortunate to have resources that we are eager to bring to bear on some of the world's most pressing social challenges, and to connect young people to these kinds of opportunities is just the sort of work we wish to be doing. So we're really thrilled to be doing this.
The chosen 85 students will work 12 hours a week and will earn $12 an hour in a variety of capacities, including development, audience services, education, special events, archives, HR technology, and exhibitions, as well as participate in cultural enrichment programs featuring workshops about relevant topics in arts and culture.
New York is such a diverse city that it needs to show that we're a diverse people. We're not just one group of people, we're not just two. And it's just awesome in me personally, being an Afro-Puerto Rican, to be able to take part in that.
When I was little, I was always drawing. I loved going to the museum with my family. It's just like a part of me, because art is just something that's like amazing. It's beautiful.
I've seen shows at Lincoln Center for the performances by Juilliard students, and I never knew, for example, that they were free because I had never been exposed to something like that. But when you participate in things like that, like, it broadens your horizon so much more, and it encourages people to pursue things that they didn't know were even possible.
The sky's definitely the limit for all the CUNY students who take part in the Cultural Core.
It's a great match, and I couldn't be more grateful for our partners in this.
The CUNY Cultural Core is building upon the success of the CUNY Service Corps, which is now in its 4th year. When Martin Scorsese's daughter, Dominica Cameron Scorsese, was searching for a music composer for her latest film, she chose CUNY student Jasmine Klinger.
I don't remember myself not listening to music. I started playing music when I was about 8 years old. I started playing drums, and my parents bought me my first guitar, and I taught myself, and then I started my first band, and I just met people along the way, if it's music teachers, if it's colleagues, fellow musicians, and I started performing. I'm from Israel, and when I was 18, I joined the military, and I did my service. And after I finished my service, I continued my education, and I moved to the States to study music. I composed 2 films in Israel, and I did it with Daniel Dworsky, who is my mentor. He taught me voice training since I was 14 years old. And I feel very
creatively fueled when I work with people from the film industry on a vision. I know someone who knows someone who knows Domenica Cameron Scorsese, and I sent Domenica some of my music, and she liked it, and we spoke, and yeah, I was on board.
Are you guys selling the house?
We're trying to, but people keep moving back in.
The movie is about a banker during the 2008 financial crisis. He has to go back home after he lost his job. And the movie tells us his story, what it's like coming back home, and everything around it. It was wonderful working with Domenica. She's very artistic, very talented, and she taught me a lot. I knew the movie was submitted to Tribeca, and I was very excited. I've heard about Tribeca Film Festival since I was a kid. It's a very known, very famous festival, even in Israel. So I was very, very excited to find out. I felt very proud. I think it was a little surreal to me to be a part of something like that. It felt very big all of a sudden. I definitely see myself working as a film composer, potential as a sound designer as well. I'm very lucky to have great people surrounding me that believe in me and think that I can do those kind of projects.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories, log on to our website at cuny.tv or check out our Study with the Best Facebook page. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.